everyone, Angela here. Welcome to the first of a new series of videos in which I'm going to be speaking to professional photographers about how they've created a particular image. In this first video, I'm going to speak to Robert Pugh, who is a professional wedding and portrait photographer. He's also a very experienced Sony Alpha user, and I'm going to speak to him about how he used coloured lights to create character and atmosphere in a particular image. So, hi Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. I'm not as kind of red and overexposed as I look on this wonderful webcam, but hopefully I'll get a better one soon.
But it's good to have a bit of sunshine while we are bound to our gardens as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, you're looking very well. You've agreed very kindly to talk to us about your Harley Quinn image.
Yeah, so one of my favourite images, actually quite a simple way to do it if you know how to do it. So I'd love to kind of break it down, get a picture up, and yeah, we can have a talk about how it's done, camera settings and everything like that.
That sounds great. Okay, thank you.
So let me just share my screen. I'm just going to turn to the computer. I'll share my screen and then everyone will be able to see the image we're going to talk about. Right, so everyone should be able to see my screen now, and they should see me up in the top right-hand corner. So let's start with the image that we're going to have a little chat about. So this is the image. It's we had kind of this idea of creating an image from, let's say, a DC character, and I picked Harley Quinn. So the reason I picked Harley Quinn was the colours that went with her. She's kind of this rough and ready person as well. I wanted to use sort of bare lights. I didn't want to use modifiers to soften it up, and I wanted to keep things as simple as possible. And for that reason, that's why we sort of went towards the Harley Quinn, because as much as she's a gorgeous, glamorous character, she is that rough and ready, you know, carries around the baseball bat. So you want to steer clear of her. So that's what you kind of need to think about when you're modeling your lights. It isn't what you want to do. It's more of what the subject is. So for instance, if this was a young girl and was doing a portrait shoot and we wanted to make her look beautiful, then we would probably use a big softbox. The bigger the light source, the softer the light. We'd use it quite close, so then it fills in all the shadows and it's a much more glamorous image. But for this one, my whole concept was that rough and ready. So I had to step back and think about how I wanted to light it. Did I want to use flash, or did I want to use continuous light? And by continuous light, I mean LED lighting. So I'm a big fan of rotor light, and more to the point, the Neo 2s. So I do have the EOS as well, and its bigger brother, but the Neos, they're kind of my favorite. They go everywhere I go. I have them in my wedding kit bag. If I can do the portrait shoot of it, I'll use them for the portrait shoot. I've used them for headshots as well. And it's the simplicity of them that you can just get them out and you can set them up, and within a couple of seconds, you're away shooting. So I'll close this image down. We'll just look at the camera settings to start with, and then I'll put the image back up and we'll talk about the light placements and how we get those rich colors, because believe it or not, this is pretty much out of camera. So there's not that much done to it at all. In fact, the colors and everything are out of camera. There's nothing done to it. The only thing that was done in Photoshop, on the left-hand side, you can still see some slight little marks there, and you can see some little marks around here. So we just used a white wall. We didn't put any backdrops up. We just used this white wall, and we shot from that. And because the wall was scuffed and had marks all over it, then I've just took some of the heavy prominent marks out. But I decided to leave, you know, the other ones in, because it sort of goes again with the character. I'm not going to remove everything and make it really clean and tidy. No Photoshop done for merging the colours. Again, I'll explain how all that's done. So you okay, Angela, for me to just go over the camera settings?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. And then you can just, if you get any questions, then just shout them off as I'm going through.
Okay, thanks.
So you can actually see we've got the metadata all up here, and you can see the day that we shot it on, time we shot it on, everything like that, and the camera as well. So this was shot with the Sony A9. Don't actually have the A9 anymore. I've actually upgraded it to the A9 II, but this was shot with the A9. And one of my favorite lenses, it was actually shot with a 55mm f1.8. Everyone needs a nifty 50 in the bag. You know, Sony, they make it as 55mm. It's a beautiful lens. It is so sharp, so small, and yeah, it's probably one of my favorite lenses for doing anything. I've sort of merged over from using an 85 and a 35 for weddings to using a 28 and a 50 now. I kind of use that an awful lot. So ISO speed, we decided to go with ISO 200 because that's what natively our ISO is on a Sony. We can drop it to 100 and then you can even go to ISO 50, but 50 is simulated. So if you look at your camera, if it's got a line underneath the ISO, that means it's a simulated ISO. But if we think about ISO 200, people was attending this workshop that we did. Majority of cameras, they start at 200, so that's the only reason I set it at 200 and didn't go to the 100. It gives us a nice clean image as well. Want to keep it nice and clean. Now, if you was using flash, maybe you would have probably put your ISO up to 400, just for the simple reason is you're going to make the batteries last a lot longer and the flash not to work as hard. But Neo 2s, they will kind of last 5 hours on full power continuous. I get a lot of time out of them, and that's because I use them on a very low power, but we'll get to that in a moment. So ISO 200, it does say flash fired, but I actually don't know why it said flash fired. Maybe it's because I had the trigger on the top for the Neos, and I was adjusting the power output of the Neos on the top of the camera as well. Center weighted is my average Adobe Photoshop. It was put into Photoshop, and then you can flick it over put it into Lightroom. You can flick it over into Photoshop, and it comes back into Lightroom. So when you export it out, it puts on the metadata, the program you exported it with as well. So those are the camera settings, quite easy. F4. So again, the reason we're going for F4, I don't want to shoot at F8 and have everything super in focus, because then the imperfections in the background, you'll see all those come through. So if you're shooting at sort of F4 and below, it's kind of a built-in Photoshop. Anything behind the subject is going to go out of focus, blurry, and those imperfections will slowly start to slip away. So that's why I picked F4, because Harley Quinn will be nice in focus, but then the background will all be out of focus as well. And then white balance. So I set my white balance manually. We'll talk about white balance once I get the picture back up. Any questions there, Angela?
No, I was going to ask you about your lens choice, but you've already explained that one, so that's fine, thank you.
Cool, no problem. So when it comes to shooting with artificial light or LED lighting, now the brilliant thing with these is, again, as I said before, my favorite is, I'm just going to flick back to me a minute. So this is my favorite light. So this is the Neo 2. If you do buy one, it comes in a box like this, and then inside it's got a pouch that it's all in. You get a little handle with it now. and you get the mains power supply. It's probably one of the only suppliers that I know where the light is meant to run on batteries, but they also, free of charge, throw in all the power supply and everything. So you can run it on the mains as well.
And it takes it's 6 AA's, isn't it?
It takes 6 AA's, and I would recommend buying the AA's from Rotolight because they've got a high milliamp, so they'll last a lot longer. That's the one thing you've got to watch when using cameras or lights like this. If you just put cheap rechargeable batteries in, the milliamps are normally quite low. You want about 1200 milliamps. Anything that's sort of 900 and below that, then they're not going to last that long, as where 1200 and above, they're going to last quite a long time. So I'll do a little unboxing at the end to show you exactly what's in there, and then we can sort of end on that when I come to it. Another thing that I use is one of the transmitters as well. So this is an Electron transmitter, but it's actually made specifically for Rotolight. So it works in conjunction with all of their lights. So they all have sky ports built in. This is obviously what it looks like itself. So that can sit on the camera, and you can adjust all your power settings. You can adjust your white balance and everything. So very handy to have on the top of the camera, especially when you're working with, say, a free light setup and you need to adjust your lights here and there. So I love doing that. And then again, pack of gels. So you do get a basic pack of gels in with the Neo when you buy them, but you can then get it's like an upgrade kit. So this is an add-on FX kit. And it has a lot more colours in. I like it because it's got a nice deep red in there and the blues as well. So definitely worth getting one of those. And if you do want to recreate this, then that's what you're going to have to pick up. So this is actually a free light kit. So let's just go back to the image and we can talk about this. So it's actually a free light kit that's done this. Now, let's talk about the placement of the lights, and then we'll talk about the white balance and then the power settings. So we'll do it in that order. So when it comes to looking at an image, we've set up the subject, and I would normally ask her to do a pose. I explain what I'm looking for. We both did our research into Harley Quinn. So the model that I used, she actually already had this good understanding of her character and poses. So we did this pose with the bat above her, and if you actually Google Harley Quinn, you'll actually see this pose in quite a lot of the images. And then once she'd posed like that, I've got on the right hand side, so to the image right, up high and at a 45-degree angle down, I've got a Neo 2. So the Neo 2 is probably round about, I would say it was at 60% power that was on the front of her. So that's coming down onto her. Now, because she's doing a pose, we can then move this light around and we can see where we want to push the shadows. So that's the most important thing. If you're using flash, you've got to actually take a picture, evaluate it on the back of your camera, and then make a decision where to move it and then take another picture. We haven't even picked the camera up at this stage. The light's on, we've moved it around. I've then got the shadows pushing back so I can see her eyes. So that's the main thing. I want to have focus straight onto her eyes. And also it'll help the camera. I'm using the Sony A9. It's phenomenal for the eye auto and locking onto the eye as well. So I want to make sure that I can get that light into the eyes, brighten up the iris so it locks on. We've got pin sharp image there. So the main light's set up, brilliant. I turn it off. Then I'll go to the background lights. I've looked at the colour of her costumes and I've seen that she's got red and she's got blue. So if we look at her top, it's split. There's red on one side, it's blue on the other. So I opted for a red and a blue gel. Now, a lot of people do make a mistake when they're using gels. Now, the idea for a rich gel is to use it at low power. The higher you put the power, the more washed out the colour's going to get. And there's another tip when using LEDs on how to make it even more richer, but we'll get to that. So now for the placement of the lights. Now I've just put them, they're on about 20% power, so not that high at all. Most people would put one to camera left and one to camera right, and they would be pointing inwards to the background. The only problem with doing that is you haven't got that much control, because when the light, it basically, I'm going to just come back to me for this. So if I was to have a light source here and a light source here, and I was to angle them to the background, what's going to happen is the light will travel from both and then it crosses. Now there's a scenario where if it's white light, that's brilliant, because when it crosses, it's going to stay white and it'll just make that part of the background a little bit brighter where it crosses. But when you're using gels, we get a contamination. So it's like mixing paint. If we have, you know, a red gel on this side, a blue gel on this side, when the light meets, it's going to make purple. Okay, so as it crosses, it will make purple. But what will happen to the background, because the light crosses, it doesn't stop and it carries on going, the whole background will just turn purple, and you'll probably just have a little bit of blue on one edge and a little bit of red on the other, but the majority of the background will be purple. So to get away from that, what we do, let's go back to the image. Okay, so what we do is we position both lights right behind Harley Quinn. Okay, so I've basically got two stands, and they're very thin, small Manfrotto stands. I think they're called the nano stands, and they're behind her, and the lights are actually right behind her back here, but they are facing outwards. So because they're facing outwards, so the blue light is facing out this way and the red light is facing out that way. That way, because they're facing outwards, it means that the direction they're facing will be blue. Obviously, there is going to be some kind of bleed. Because they're right next to each other, we've minimized the bleed. So if you look behind the head here, from where the spike cuff is on her wrist to just say the edge of her hair there, you can actually see the purple, okay? And that's where the light sources are actually meeting and mixing, and it's turning that little bit to purple. But as soon as it goes past, then we get red, and then we get blue as well. You can actually see how high the lights are as well by the intensity. So they are just at waist height, because we can see here how the blue is much more paler than in the corners and at the top. And again, how the red is much more paler. Now there is another way how to make these colors a lot deeper. So I'm using a white background. And because we use a white background, the color that hits that will be washed out a bit. If you was to use a black background or a gray background, that would actually deepen the colors. So the background also does a big impact in what you're doing as well. Now, if we was then to think, actually, we want to richen the color up ourselves, well, there's another way of doing it, and it's a very simple way, but no one actually realizes how much it impacts it. So we're using gels. Now, your white balance affects the color of the gels. So for my camera, so the main light, the key light that's lighting the front of her, I've actually got that set to 5600K, because when it comes to the Neo 2s, we can actually alter the white balance directly in the lights. We don't need to do any trickery after in Lightroom. We can do everything in camera. And this is what I did this image for, was to show people how we could do this in image in camera and get it pretty much perfect without any Photoshop. So my key light is at 5600 Kelvin. My camera white balance, I go into it and I set it manually. I set the Kelvin to 5600. Then the lights that are facing the wall, I actually, I changed them. So we started with them on 5600 and then we actually altered them and we went down to 3000 Kelvin. And because we went down to 3000 Kelvin, it completely changed the look and it made the blue a lot more richer and it made the yellow a lot deeper. To prove a point, I just went the other way and we turned it all the way up the opposite way, and that it lightened everything up and totally changed the look. So if you want a really deep color, drop your Kelvin down and play about with it. I mean, the best thing is what you see is what we get. When we're setting all this up, we haven't even taken a picture yet. I actually adjusted the brightness and the intensity of the color with just standing back, evaluating the image and thinking, do you know what? I actually want the white balance to go lower and the colors to go richer. So because I had the remote on the top of the camera, then I could just alter that as well. And you know what? You don't even need to have the remote on top of the camera. So a lot of the times I have this, this little tripod here, and this remote actually kind of lives on the tripod and I just have it off to the side. So if I need to alter it, I'll just pick it up and I can just change the intensity straight away. So really nice way of doing it. But if you want to leave it on top of your camera, you can.
Rob, just to clarify, that's really handy when the lights are, you know, say that they're low down or awkward to access, or you have to ask the model to move or something like that. But you can, there's two knobs on the back of the lights, isn't there? So you can just turn those to adjust the brightness or the white balance.
Yeah, of course. I mean, do you know what? You don't have to buy the trigger. The trigger's it's a lazy man's tool. So you just stay in your one spot and you can change everything. But yeah, if you want to, if you want a bit of exercise, you can walk around the model and there is a little dial that you can change the intensity of the power up and down, and you can also change the white balance up and down.
Yeah.
I'll take one out of the box. I want to show you all at the end. I'm going to unbox this. So this one came today for something we're going to do, and I'll unbox it so you can see exactly what's in the box, and I'll show you the back of it and the batteries as well that I would recommend you to buy. So just to show you, we recreated this not so long ago, but not a Harley Quinn. We just used a model and we were showing people how you could do the light setup. So to get a bit of a more of a feel for how it's done, so you can see here, we've got the model is in the center. We've got our key light, which is pretty much just off to camera right. This room, not a lot of space in it. Again, you don't need a lot of space with these lights. And you can see there, we've got them just sort of below her waist height, slightly angled up. And the only reason we've got it like this, so if you do a half body shot, then they're totally out the frame. You can see the red and the blue. We've got red coming onto this side, we've got blue coming onto this side. And I mean, this picture is just a behind the scenes shot with an iPhone, and you can even see the intensity of the red and the blue coming in. And that's just, you know, the white balance that we're using to pick that up as well. So again, very easy setup. When you see these 3 light stands, and we've got 3 lights, 3 Neo 2s, such a simple way of doing it. I mean, you could do so much. If you didn't want to use gels, maybe you just wanted a nice clean white background, then obviously these could light the background for you. You could have a really nice portrait shoot with a really clean background and the lights lighting that as well. Any questions on that, Angela?
No, but I think it's probably worth clarifying at this point that the white balance setting on the camera needs to match the white balance setting on the key light, whereas the lights that are lighting the background and having the color, you adjust that to give the result that you want.
Yeah, that's totally right. So so again, in the camera, 5600 Kelvin set manually, and then my key light, I set that manually on the back of the Neo 2 to 5600, so it's exactly the same as the camera. If you don't know what a key light is, the key light is what's lighting me. It's your main light source that's lighting the subject. And then the background lights, those are the ones that we're lowering the white balance to like 3000 Kelvin. And because we've got the gels on, that's going to richen up all the colors and make them lovely and vivid and bright. So I just want to show you a bit more of a pulled back image. So let's go back to the screen. I'm going to be a master of changing screens by the time we finish this. So we've got this here, and we'll go to a symbol. So that's the more pulled back one. Now, again, no settings have changed. The lighting's still the same. The lights are literally round about where her waist is, and they're just behind her. I thought this model was, you know, I was super impressed because I seen all the tattoos, and she's got all these diamond tattoos on her leg and everything, and she got the tattoo on her arm and all here. And I thought, wow, what a dedicated model. You know, she's looked at Harley Quinn and she's gone out and she's actually got herself tattooed and everything to go with it. And then I found out that these are like water tattoos and they all just wash off. So, but you know, I thought dedication.
It's pretty good anyway.
It is, yeah, it is. And she actually put it all together herself. So I was super impressed with it. Yeah. Even the wig, I mean, she dyed the tips of the wig so it would all fall into place. So yeah. Fair play to her. And again, it's research. If you find the right model, you work together. It doesn't even need to be a model. You know, if you're going to do a shoot, and maybe you're going to use your daughter, your wife, a friend, do your research, and you can pick up, you know, wigs that cost sort of £5 to £10. You can buy outfits for next to nothing. You can go into second-hand shops, and before you know it, with a bit of knife cutting and sewing, you can easily make up an outfit for a shoot. But it's all about just doing your research and doing a storyboard before you start. Just don't go in guns blazing. Think about what you want to do. So again, really impressed with the final image, and like I say, you can just see in the center there, kind of the purple, and then it goes to blue and to red out there. But I thought it all really worked in well, and you can see more here why we did those two colors. So a shorts there, it's blue and red. So we decided to stick with those colors, so it all kind of worked in. And the reason for this split color is Harley Quinn's got a split personality, you know. She never started off like this. She was this lawyer who was quite normal, and then she transitioned into this reckless person. So she has this split personality. So everything works together. The lighting is a split lighting for a reason. We just didn't light the background just for lighting the background's sake. So it all tells the story of how it comes together.
Great. I think one of the things about this technique is it's so versatile, because obviously you've gone for quite a hard, edgy look here, but you could add softer colors if you want, and you can have the transition in different places. It's really versatile. Whereas if you were trying to do that with a background, either you'd have to spend a lot of money on getting different types of background, or you'd have to keep painting it different colors and moving the paint around, you know, to different locations, different graduations. Whereas this is much more flexible. And it's a really smooth transition, or it can be a really smooth transition if you want, or you can get quite a harsh one.
Yeah, and do you know, I mean, one of the things that I was trying to get across to people when I was doing this is not everyone is a Photoshop boffin, you know. I mean, yeah, some people, they could go in, they could draw a mask around Harley Quinn, then they could add in blue on one side and red on the other, but those are going to be quite solid colors. Then you're going to have to do opacities to split it up, and a radial filter to sort of bring it around. And by the time you've probably done all that, you've spent a good hour in Photoshop doing it. As where I can never get my head round why people are doing that, when we can actually do it there and then at the shoot and get the same look, if not better. So with this, the main thing I was putting across is what you see is what you get. So we actually seen this image before we even picked the camera up and took the shots. So we set everything up. We could do micro adjustments to see that background. And it's just like Angela was saying there, that, you know, you can change the look. If you wanted a softer look, then we could have put a softbox onto the Neo. We could have added a much more softer light onto the front of her to brighten it all up. On the background, we could have changed that as well. If you could actually just use one light. If we took one light away, then place one light behind her, and instead we could have this blue vignette coming around. So it's an endless supply of shots that you could have done on that day. We could have started off with this really hard look, then we could have changed it to a bit more of a softer look. We could have moved one light away and had a blue vignette. We could have moved the blue vignette and put a red vignette in. We could have actually turned the lights around to face the back of her, so the background itself would have gone into darkness, but then Harley Quinn would have had a rim light coming off around her of the different colours as well. So yeah, very, very versatile in what you can do.
Good fun too.
Yeah, we had loads of fun doing that. So I want to show you the equipment now. So obviously the gels. So these are for the EOS, but they're a same principle. It's just a smaller gel for the Neo. So these are the gels, really simple and easy how they go on. So even that, if you put on say a blue and you didn't like it, it's a very easy way to take them off. So all of Rotolights have got a built-in sort of filter holder. You don't need to go out like you do with Flash and buy an additional strap to go around or a rubber band to hold it on. So all Rotolights have actually got it built in. So you just need to buy the filters, and then you can pop those on straight away. So let's get a light out and let's show you exactly what's on this. Are you okay for me to go ahead and do a little unboxing on here for you, Angela?
Go on then.
Okay, so a live unbox. Everyone loves an unboxing.
Go for it. I've got a couple out of the boxes already behind me.
No. So I mean, the great thing about the lights is, I mean, I'm lit all around with them, but I can change the colors all around me if I wanted to get a different vibe. So you can have loads of fun with them as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it comes in a box. It basically tells you what you get in it. So you actually get some filters, you get a bag for it to go in, you get a hot shoe adapter, the light, and a mains adapter as well. So one thing it doesn't list on here, which I will show you because I was a bit shocked when it was in here myself. Okay, so when it comes to, let me get everything out and then we can actually see what it comes with. Okay, so it comes with obviously one UK plug for plug it into the mains. You get a little Velcro strap, and that's obviously to go around all your cables to keep them nice and tidy. Little touches matter. Obviously instruction manuals with how it all works. Now these are the batteries. It comes with a little leaflet in recommending what batteries to use. You can buy them on the Rotolight website. You can't buy them anywhere else, obviously just on the Rotolight website. And those are the ones that recommended, and they've tested how long the batteries last and how long they go on for as well. So then this is the little surprise. It actually comes with a handle now as well. So they never used to, but you've now got a handle that's in there. I have a handle for mine, and for my weddings, it lives on the handle, and I literally hold it up and take the pictures of holding it. If we've got time, I'll just flick up one shot of a wedding just to show you the difference from doing a Harley Quinn shot, which is a styled shoot, and using a Neo on sort of a run and gun, a quick shot as well, if we've got time. Then the light itself, everyone likes bubble wrap, popping all the bubbles, keeps you occupied. So comes in a bag, little Velcro. Everyone often wonders what all these little pouches for at the front, because you kind of can just fit your finger in, or you can fit a pen in. The idea behind it, it's for AA batteries. So 2 AA batteries fit in each one. So if you want to carry a spare set of AA batteries, then they go in there. And then the larger pouch on this side with the little red tag, that is where your power supply goes in as well. So the power supply is just in there. Then the back sleeve, it comes with your basic sort of gels. So they're correction gels, these are. Good to have. And then it comes with the light source again. So again, we'll just pull this out. So it's got a hot shoe on the bottom. This can unscrew and you can put it in any one of the 3 holes there for it to go on. Now, what I have done in the past, because I've got a couple of these, if you want to turn this into a bigger light source, it's a very easy way to do. If you've got the free light kit, you can actually screw in the other 2 Neos onto the side of them, and then this will turn into a bigger light source. So that's just a little tip on how to turn this into a bigger light source. Then the gel on the front, if you do a twist, you see it comes off, then you put your gels on. So that is the actual gel holder, and a little twist and it goes back on. I've actually got some batteries in this. I know I've just done an unboxing in front of you live, but it was kind of a cheat because I've already unboxed it ready for tomorrow. But if we turn it on, then you can see the light source is on there. We've got the 2 buttons here. We've got a power button and we've got the color temperature button. That's how you can control them. You press it twice and then that goes into the menu. So again, really well made. They're made here in the UK. It's a British company, so really good, well made product.
We probably should mention actually, Rob, that they are used as, you can use them as flash as well, but obviously, you know, the continuous light is the really attractive feature because it just makes life so easy.
Yeah, so again, it's got flash built in. It's actually 0 recycle time, so that's how they promote it, and it really is 0 recycle time. So if you set your camera to 8,000th of a second, every single frame you take, it will capture every single frame, so it'll go off to every single frame. I mean, that's phenomenal in itself. To get it to work like that, you would have to use obviously the remote. So it's an off-camera. You can have it on camera, but then you're going to need to use a sync lead on the back and plug it into your camera for it to work. So it's better using it off camera. You can put this on a stand. If this is on your camera, then you can fire it with 0 recycle time. And I think that's one of its big selling points as well, the 0 recycle time.
Yeah. Okay. So we've just got a couple of minutes left, Rob. If you want to show us the picture where you've used the lights for a
Yes, so let's just quickly go then to my screen and we'll share that. So this image is it's totally shot with just 1 Neo light. The Neo light is to the left-hand side. I've actually got Lisa, she's my other half, and on sort of location, destination weddings, then she's my assistant as well. So this was up in Penrith. She's hand holding it, shining down, and I believe, if I remember rightly, the light source is actually only on about 10% power. So it was pitch black outside there. I know we've got that rich blue sky coming in, but there's a street lamp off to the right-hand side. That was my exposure, and then the light source only had to be on about 10% power to light the both of those. and we got a great shot. So it literally did take us seconds to do. I mean, it was actually -5 when we shot this. It was freezing cold, so we didn't want to be outside for too long, and I didn't want the bride to have her coat off because I was all wrapped up, lovely and warm, and she was freezing. So a couple of seconds, done, dusted, lit, took the shot, and then everyone went back inside into the warmth. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you to show you how versatile the light is. And again, you know, you can actually be as creative as you want with these lights, but the biggest selling point is what you see is what you get. In photography now, that is kind of coming into play with everything. I mean, mirrorless cameras now, as soon as we look through that viewfinder, any changes we make is that instant what you see is what we get. And it's sort of transitioned over now to the lighting source. Yes, we used to use flashes all the time, but if you actually take a step back now and look at what people are starting to use, a lot of people are actually using LED lights to light their shoots, whether it's a product shoot. I know they just launched the Titan light now, rotor light, and that's for, you know, big production shoots or car shoots, lighting a bike, some things like that. But the industry is evolving to this LED lighting, and it makes our job so much easier because for setting up, getting the shot, we're no longer having to take 10 shots to get that one shot. We can pretty much get it right off the go. So
Great. Well, thanks very much for that, Rob. It's been really interesting. I really love that picture. But most of all, I really love your enthusiasm for photography and being creative. So thanks for sharing that with us.
no problem. My pleasure. And yeah, I love setting things up and getting creative, being a bit different as well. You know, it's not about inspiring myself, it's about helping so all you as photographers and inspiring you to get out there and to get shooting as well. So we can create anything we want if we set our minds to it.